This is the lesson for Chapter 5, Section 2, Rates. So it talks about a part-time job pays $237.50 for 25 hours worth of work. How much money does the job pay per hour? Well, the per right here tells us that we're going to divide the amount of money by the amount of hours. And so I'm going to go ahead and write it this way, $237.50 per, so again, this is a fraction bar which represents a division sign, and it's over 25 hours worth of work. And so what they're asking us to do is find out the unit rate. The unit rate is the amount of dollars, in this case, per hour, per 1 unit of time. And so we're going to go ahead and divide 25 into $237.50. So I'm going to bring that decimal point straight up into the quotient. That's the first step I'm going to always end up doing. And then I'm going to start with the division. 25 into 237. So it seems kind of tough, but think of quarters. Think of how many quarters, if I had 25 cents, how many quarters goes into, let's say, $2.25? Because $2.25 ends in a 25, so we can go ahead and figure out how many quarters that would be. So $2 would end up being 4 plus 4, which would be 8. And then an extra 25 cents would be 9. So that's what 25 times 9 makes, is $2.25. So I'm going to put a 9 up here and then do the subtraction. And I'm left with 12. And so I have a 5 I'll bring down. And same sort of thing. See, it ends in 25. So whenever you end in either double zeros, you end in 25, 50, or 75, think of quarters as you're doing the division. 25 into $1.25. So that ends up going there 5 times. So 5 would be the number there, and that makes it $1.25. So we ended up with a remainder of 0, which is what we wanted, and that means we're done. So $9.50 per hour. Make sure you have the units in the problem. That's what we're looking for. So the wireless cafe charges $5.40 for 45 minutes of internet access. How much money does the wireless cafe charge per hour? Okay, so money per, oh, I'm sorry, not per hour, but per minute. And so $5.40 per 45 minutes. So let's go ahead and set up our division problem. 45 into 5.4, and then I'll add in that 0. So bring the decimal point straight up into the quotient. First thing, well, 45 doesn't go into 5. That goes 0 times. 45 goes into 54, though, 1 time. So 1 times 45 makes 45. You do the subtraction, we're left with 9. So you bring down the 0, and 45 into 90. Well, let's try 2. 2 times 45 makes exactly 90. So that means we're done. Finish the problem. So that means it is 12 cents or 12 hundredths of a dollar per minute of time. And there it is. Well, let's take a look at our next one. It says a bowler scores 3,152 points in 16 games. What is the average score in points per game? Again, we have the same phrase there, so it's going to be 3,152 points per 16 games. And so when we're setting up the problem, I'm going to do 16 into 3,152. Bring that decimal point straight up, and that way we'll know when we're at the end of the number at least, and we'll go ahead and start the division. So I see 16 goes into 31 1 time. Almost 2 though, because if this were a 32, it would go exactly 2 times. 2 times 16 is 32. So I'm left with 15 left over. Whenever you do that and you end up with almost the same exact number we have here, then you know the next number's got to be really big. So I'm going to try a 9, and I'm trying a 9 because I almost got 16. I had 15, 1 less than 16. So I'm going to try 9 next, and 9 times 6 makes 54. 9 times 1 plus the 5 makes 14. So I do the subtraction, I'm left with 11. So I bring down the 2, and now I'm doing 16 into 112. Now another big number here, and when I do this, I'm thinking of maybe like 16, or actually I'm going to change that to 20, and think of 20 into, and I'm going to round this number up, 120. See, 20 goes into 120 6 times, so I might try 6 to start with. And so maybe off to the side I'll do 16 times 6 to see what that is. Well, that makes 36. So I'll carry the 3, and this makes 6 and 1 plus 3 makes 9. Well, a little bit too small, but what I could do, instead of just multiplying again, you could just add 16, and then you would end up with 16 times by 7. So to see what that number is. So I do that, I get 12, carry a 1, that makes 11. Oh, the same exact number, 112. When I do, and I got now a remainder of 0. When I plug that in, that gave me the exact number. So now I know I'm done with the answer. So 197 points per game. That's a pretty good bowler. I wish I could bowl about 197 every time. Anyhow, it says an ocean liner travels 1,233 miles in 36 hours. What is the average rate of speed? Okay, they've changed the words on us. We don't have per. Well, rate of speed means like feet per second or miles per hour. And so it's a distance over time is what a rate of speed is. So what we're going to end up doing is take the amount of distance, 1,233 miles, and we're going to put that over 36 hours. And then we're going to set up our division problem that way. So 36 into 1,233. Add that decimal point, bring it straight up, and start doing the division. So I'll start with 36 into 123. And as I look at that, if I cover up, let's just look at this part, 36, and now cover up that 6. And we're looking at 123. We'll cover up the 3. So covering up the 6 and the 3, 3 goes into 12 4 times, evenly. So if I did 3 times 30, or I'm sorry, 30 times 4, that would be 120. Well, I need 123, and I've got 36, not 30. So that tells me I need to use a 3. And so 3 times 6 makes 18. 3 times 3 makes 9, plus 1 makes 10. So that makes 108. So I got to borrow a little bit, and I'm left with 15. So I'll use that same trick. So again, cover up that 6 and the 3. So this 3 and this 6. And think of 3 into 15 goes 5 times evenly. But if I did 15, or 5, I would have too big of a number, because 5 times 36 is going to, I have to carry that extra 3 in the 30 that I get from the 6 times 5, so that would be too big. So let's go with the 4 and see what ends up happening. So I'll put the 4 there. That makes 24. This makes 12 plus 2 makes 14 again, so I'm getting 144. And I end up doing the subtraction. I end up with 9. Well, that was pretty close, so I've got to carry a 0. And now 36 into 90. Since I'm going to run out of room, I'll shorten that 90 up a little bit. And so 36 into 90, well, that's not too big of a number. Let's go with something small. Let's do something maybe like a 2. See, if I did 3, 30 times 3 makes 90. And so that would be too big because I don't have 30, I have 36. So 2 is the number I'm going to end up using. And that makes 72. And when I do that subtraction, here I'm left with an 8 and a 1. So I get 180. So I have to add an extra 0 in there. And now I'm thinking of 36 into 180. So again, same sort of thing. Think of, instead of 36 into 180, let's think of just 3 into 18. That goes 6 times. But if I used a 6, again, it would be too big. So let's go with the number smaller. So let's go with a 5 and see what happens. Well, 5 times 36, if I do the 36 times by 5 right here, I get a 0. Carry a 3. That 15 and 3 make 18. So yeah, that works. It's 180. That would finish off the division. So 34 and 25 hundredths. This was miles per hour. That's what we get. Well, looking at our next one, it says a plane scheduled to complete and I covered this up, it looks like 1,792 mile flight in 3.5 hours. And then it says, in order to complete the trip on time, what should the plane's average rate of speed be? Average rate of speed is miles per hour here, so we're going to do 1,792 miles per 3.5 hours. So right away, I'm going to write it this way, 35 instead of 3.5, because I always divide by whole numbers, not by decimals. And then I move the decimal over in the dividend one space, so it becomes 17,920. And so now we're ready to do the division. So we see that 35 does not go into 17. So again, what I'm going to do is think of 3 into 3 into just 17. So I'm covering up the 5, I'm covering up the 9 there. 3 goes into 17 almost 6 times. It only goes 5 times. And so I'm going to go ahead and try that 5 and see what happens here. 5 times 5 makes 25, and 5 times 3 makes 15, plus 2 makes 17, so it was really close. 42, so I like the 42 because then I know it only goes in there one time. Do the subtraction, and I end up with a 7. So I carry down this 0, and 35 times 2, that makes 70. And so there's the answer. So 512 miles per hour is how fast that needs to go, that plane needs to go. Well, the next problem asks us, who got the better deal, Nina, Fred, or Eleanor, in that they paid a certain amount per gallon. So here, let's do this. Let's write down Nina, and then we've got Fred's amount here, and then we'll have Eleanor off the side. And Nina paid $37.57 for 13 gallons of gas. Who got the better buy? Well, we want to know dollars per gallon. So let's do this. It's going to be 37.57 divided by 13 gallons is what we're doing there. So 13 into 37.57. So bring the decimal point straight up. And again, 13 into 37, well, 13 times 2 makes 26. So that's pretty close. We're left with 115. Now, again, we got 13 into this number, so I'm going to go with something a little bit bigger here. So I'm thinking of maybe like 8 times 1 makes 80, or 8 times 10 makes 80, 9 times 10 makes 90, but I don't want to go too big. I'm going to go, because if I remember with 9, you got to carry 2, and that's going to be just a touch too big. So I'm going to try 8 and see where that gets me. That gets me at 104. So I do the subtraction, and I'm left with 117 this time. Well, if I do 9, that's going to make exactly 117. So there it is, $2.89 per gallon is what Nina ended up paying. Looking at Fred, he has $55.67 for 19 gallons. So he definitely spent more, but maybe his rate is less. We'll see. So we'll bring that decimal point straight up and start the division. So I see 19 times by 2 ends up giving me 38. So I'll start with that. And I see I end up with 17 when I do that subtraction. I'll bring that 6 down. And now 19 into 176. So this is close to 20. So 2 into 17 ends up going almost, well, not quite 9 times, but 8 times. But let's go ahead and try the 9 because I rounded this up. So if I put a 9 there, that makes 81. 9 times 9 makes 81. 9 times 1 plus the 8 ends up giving me 17. So very close. So that makes 5. I'll bring down the 7. And 19 does go into 57 evenly. It goes in there 3 times. So 3 times 9 makes 27. 3 times 1 makes 3 plus 2 makes 5. So there it is. He paid $2.93 per gallon. So a little bit more. So far Nina's got the better deal. Well, we got one more person to check out, and that's Eleanor. So that's going to be 17 into 48.62. So it ends up going there 2 times. That makes 34. Do the subtraction, I end up with 14. Bring the decimal point up. And 17 times 8 ends up giving me 136. That gives me 10. And I have 102, and 17 times 6 makes exactly 102. And so there it is, $2.86. So it looks like Eleanor ends up winning out here. She got the best buy. Those are the types of problems you're going to end up seeing on tonight's homework. Good luck.